Hello everyone and welcome to lesson 40 where we are going to focus on how to ask effective questions in mostly your emails, although this rule can of course apply to all forms of written communication. This should be really simple and everyone knows this. But unfortunately, if everyone knows this, then they're doing their best not to show this in their writing, because I can see plenty of examples in the writings that I come across and that are available online that people choose, for whatever reason, not to ask effective questions, but to ask very much ineffective questions. Now, if the introduction to my video sounded like a rant, that's because it was. There are some things that get under my skin when I have a look at how people write in business or legal English communication, and this is one of those things. And the basic premise is, if you're going to ask a question, then ask a question. And what I mean by that is use one of the question forms which are established, which everyone knows, in your writing. Don't use another quasi-question form which isn't really a question, which can be easily ignored, but yet the tendency seems to be to prefer these ineffective question, and I struggle to say forms here because they're not question forms, question type language, when there is an established rule for how to ask polite professional questions using indirect question forms. And the advantage with indirect question forms is that they have a simple structure, that they are polite, that they are clear, and they leave no room for misinterpretation if drafted correctly. Please don't do the opposite of that. That is to say, write a question that does leave room for interpretation, that doesn't ask an effective question. And if you want to find out what those are, then please have a look at my lessons 11, 12 and 13 when I have a look at this in some detail. If that doesn't persuade you, then at least let me say, if you are writing a question which doesn't have a question mark, then you're not writing a question, you are issuing a demand. Now, that might ring a bell with you in terms of how you want to present yourself in your writing. Do you want to present yourself as someone who just issues demands, perhaps inappropriately? Well, if you are not writing a question using a question mark, then that's exactly what you might be doing. Okay, so let me show you an example of why I'm so unhappy about this. Have a look at this example sentence here. I have received an invoice with incorrect data. Please advise. Just imagine that you are the reader, so someone sent this to you. What assumptions could you make? Well, you can see that they got an invoice, they think there is incorrect data, that you could perhaps tell by the tone that they're not very happy, and they want to know something because they've used this horrible structure, please advise. But as the reader, you're probably asking yourself, how can I help? What is it do they want from me? And now you're in a difficult situation because now you've got to guess. You've got to guess, and if you guess wrong, then potentially you could make the situation a lot worse. But of course, this isn't your fault. It's the fault of the writer who's written such an inappropriate question on so many different levels. So how could the writer write a more effective question? And remember, what I mean by effective question is that it's a question that could be easily understood, clearly directed, and something that I can actually take action on to give you the answer that you want. None of those criteria are met by this example. So, if I got a question that was like this, could you please resend the invoice with the correct data? That would be a step forward. Okay, now they want me to resend the data with correct data. At least then I'd be able to analyze the data and decide if it was correct or incorrect. Or I might get an option like this. Could I ask you to explain what invoice number 23 is for? Okay, so now they want an explanation. It's not about correcting the data. They just want an explanation of what's going on, and they've identified the invoice as well. So at least now I know where to start. And of course, you could go through the process of creating many different questions. And indeed, if you get that example as a reader, this is the process you're going through. You're asking yourself, what's going on here? What do I have to do? How can I respond? And indeed, if you're the writer, if you write a question and then you actually say, is that really what I'm trying to ask? Okay, no, it's not. Maybe what do I want? And then you go through that planning process, which is always a good idea when you're writing. And then at the end of that planning process, you have the appropriate question to ask. Okay, so what are the teaching tips? Don't forget simple grammar structures. Just because these grammar structures are easy to learn, or just because you learnt them at the beginning of your English language careers, doesn't mean that they are all of a sudden useless. They were taught to you at the beginning of your English language careers for the reason that they should be used straight away, not that they could be forgotten. Indirect question forms are easy to learn, and once you start practicing them, then it becomes easier and easier. And of course, there is flexibility in how you create indirect language structures, so you don't just have to keep on saying, could you please, could you please, could you please, although there's nothing wrong with that. There is variation there as well. Stay away from trendy business speak. It annoys people, it annoys me, as you can see, and it confuses, as I've just shown you. As I said, there's lots of flexibility in direct question forms and indirect question forms. Sometimes there's a context to use a more direct question form. If the context is appropriate, then use a direct question form. Just make sure it's an established question form. But here we get to the most important things. It helps develop you. It helps develop a good image of you as a writer. It's communicating not just a message to the reader, but it's communicating a picture of yourself that you are able to write appropriately and think about the reader when you are writing. And that is the important thing to take away here. Not necessarily a structural message of don't do this and do this, but rather think about the wider picture of how you're presenting yourself through your words. And for those of you that care about this thing, and as much as I hate the adjective sophisticated, indirect question forms are a sophisticated form of language. So from that point of view, you guys should feel happy. Okay, now it's time for questions. If you follow me on Patreon, you get access to my questions, my answer videos, and you get access to all of my content a long time in advance. So this video would have been available to you if you're watching this on YouTube. Then it will be around about June, I think. This video would have been available to you in March this year. So if you want to follow me on Patreon and get access to my questions, my answer videos, and my content earlier, then please think about joining me on Patreon. So I'd like you to think about these questions. Read the demands, because they're not questions, they are demands, and redraft them all using indirect question forms. Try to use different direct and indirect question forms for each demand. So here we're practicing flexibility, both indirect and direct forms. As an example, I have received an invoice with incorrect data, please advise. Could you please resend the invoice with the correct data, or could I ask you to explain what invoice number 23 is for? There is no one correct answer as regards your interpretation, because of course, if you receive a quasi question like that, then the only person who knows what the question really is the person who wrote it in the first place.